Hello and welcome to hobbyking.com. My name is Stuart and here today to bring you a flight review on a much loved and classic Durafly design. It is the Durafly EFX Racer and the Durafly EFXTRA. Now in this flight review we are going to demonstrate the model flying of course, but then we're also going to go into a little bit of the historical context of the development of the EFX Racer and how that went on to become the EFXTRA. The differences between the two of them then and the differences between the two of them now. And in terms of videos, you haven't seen much from us lately. We've been fighting against several things, most notably the weather here in the Netherlands where we do video and do product development. It's been horrible. It's been really horrible. It's been a very wet, windy and cold spring. Finally now the weather has started to improve, although it's overcast now, it's not much wind. Chance of rain later, but we'll not worry about that. Also, the club that we fly at, they've been closed for about a month building new access to the club. We've got a nice shiny new access road now, which is great for the future, but it meant that we was a little bit out of the loop in terms of media for a little while there. Anyway, we're back and we're bringing you some content and we're bringing you this flight review of these two Durafly models. Now just to get the basic specs out the way, both the EFX Racer and the EFXTRA run on a 3536 1780 kV brushless outrunner. They both have Aerostar 60 amp speed controllers and they're both designed for either 3S or 4S with a supplied 7 or 8 inch prop depending on what setup you're running on. This would be a 3-cell, for example. This is a 3-cell 2200 and this is a 4-cell. Now speaking of historical context, this is an older Turnigy A spec, but when I first started developing the EFX Racer, this was the pack that I was flying on, and I've always flown the EFX Racer on this pack. Can't get many more, but of course we have many other 4S packs in this size. However, with the latest versions of the EFX Racer and the EFXTRA that are in stock now in the US and international warehouse, they all fit either the 3S 2200s right up to a 4S 2400 with ease. And I know some of you are also running those on 5S packs for extra speed. Speaking of speed, they are very fast models, especially when you're running them with 4S, but with that 3S option, you can have a nice sports aerobatic racer. Of course, it doesn't have that top end speed of 100+ miles an hour out the box with the 4S setup. Now I said I was going to talk about a little bit of the history of the model. Well, this EFX Racer design and concept is around about almost 8 years old now, but I can honestly say it's given me one of the proudest moments in my life as a product developer. When it launched with quite a lot of fanfare and was very well received and much loved by many of you. And then a few years later when the EFXTRA came out, it was still equally well received and loved. Now the EFX Racer as it was then, in terms of difference, when we went from the EFX Racer to the EFXTRA, originally it had a plastic spinner and it had a removable nose cone and the internal space was a little bit smaller. But then when we went to the EFXTRA, we swapped for a metal spinner, changed the motor, I think the ESC changed as well. We clipped the wingtips, I'll tell you a story about that in a second, and we changed the prop configuration too, and of course gave it a more vibrant and slightly different looking scheme. That was then. Now they both have identical components in terms of motors, props and ESCs and servos. The only difference you see now is purely aesthetic. So it's the case of whether you want the more classic look of the yellow, and I think there's also an orange version of the EFX Racer without the clipped wings, or if you want the more sporty, more modern, more vibrant scheme of the EFXTRA, but again with those same internal components. They both now also have that a bigger internal space, and the reason that they are now produced in the same way in that respect is just in terms of production. It makes ease of production that much more efficient. But in terms of the real differences right now, it's the scheme and it's the clipped wings. That's the difference you'll see, and the EFXTRA does come with an FPV race pod that you can mount and make and mount on the hatch, whereas the EFX Racer, because when that originally first came out, FPV wasn't really kicking off like it was a few years later with the EFXTRA. So there is an FPV option for the EFXTRA. Now it does have that clipped wing, and here's a little story, a little side note on the clipped wing. When we first launched the EFX Racer, about a year or so later, we was at a show in America, great show called Joe Knoll. We was flying it and many customers there with the EFX Racers, and that was one of the highlights as well, to see so many people enjoying them. And one of our customers clipped the wings, and I was very curious on that. and it created a faster roll rate and slightly reduced the glide, but it looked really, really cool. So I thought, well, we could try a bit of that. So we clipped the wing with the EFXTRA, and we changed the setup. And again, it's now that same shared setup between the two models. So that's what you see in difference in terms of flight. It will have a faster roll rate, but it won't glide quite as well as the original full span EFX Racer. But what we're going to do, we're going to give you a flight demonstration, probably primarily on the EFX Racer, and then cut to the same footage or the same maneuver, but with the EFXTRA, just to show the difference. Hopefully that works out in the edit when I come to edit this later. I'm sure it will. Now we'll go into a few more anecdotes when we're out there flying, but I'm just going to give you a quicker overview of the product now. They are both plug and fly. They assemble in minutes. It's a clip-in tow and a screw-on wing. Then you have to put the propeller, pre-balanced propeller and spinner onto the end of the motor and install your receiver. Now speaking of installation, if I lift the hatch up here, it is magnetically held. For those of you who maybe haven't seen an EFX Racer or EFXTRA before, in there you'll see underneath the fuselage here is that Aerostar 60 amp speed controller. Motors up the front there, of course. You've got a nice Velcro strap to secure your choice of batteries, and the battery slides in very, very nicely there, and it's secured nice and snug in place. I'm running 6 channels receivers on these, the smallest ones I can get, which is Radio Master or the FR Sky equivalent, and they are just tucked back here. So it's a very straightforward setup. Very, very easy to transport, and it's a great flying model, as I will demonstrate when we're out there. You can see from me holding it here, there's no undercarriage. It's got a very nice decal scheme on both the EFX Racer and the EFXTRA. I really particularly like the fluoro color of the EFXTRA. It's a hand launch model, so you'll want to be holding it around about the CG, which is there. You get your transmitter in one hand, do the throttle with your chin, and then away you go. But I'll show you that in just a minute when we go out and do the flight review using the EFX Racer, and give you a little bit of comparison with the EFXTRA too. And maybe as a little bit of bonus footage, because they are essentially the same model, we're going to hopefully take the wing off one model and put it on the other and show you guys that they are completely interchangeable too. So that's enough jabbering. The sun is still shining, the wind is not picking up. Let's go out and fly. Okay, so right here at the field, a little bit of wind, but I got to say, wind doesn't really affect the EFX or the EFXTRA. In fact, the EFX and EFX Racer and EFXTRA, to give them their full names, do slope very well, and that's a point. A slope nose cone is included on both versions, so you can slope it as well. Not much opportunity for sloping here in the Netherlands though. As you can see, it's very, very flat. So what we are going to do, like I said, give you a flight demo using one of the models, and then cut to, for example, in roll rate, we're going to cut in the edit, hopefully. I'll do one maneuver with this model, and then I'll show the same maneuver but with the other model, just to see the difference in roll rate, because that's really the only difference now that they both have the same shared components, other than the looks. And that's the point I want to make. We've picked up the EFXTRA, and we're going to be flying predominantly with this one, simply because it's a grey sky, and for our cameraman and everyone else, it just pops a little bit more on camera. So we'll be flying the EFXTRA. One more thing to mention, those older A-Spec packs that I mentioned, whilst they fit very well, and I'll show you that just whilst we're here. This is the 1800, and you can see there's still quite a lot of room in there, so you could easily fit a 22 or even a 2400 4S in there. They are showing their age a bit. They don't have the top performance that a newer pack would have, so keep that in mind. But with a new Turnigy, maybe even a Turnigy Bolt, anything from 50 to 60 plus C, you'll really see that 100 plus mile-an-hour performance out the box. Now when I launch, what I do when I launch, I'm launching underarm. If you don't know much about hand launching, there is a video that we've done describing that. We can link to that underneath this video. When I launch, I'm underarm, about a third to a half throttle, throw it straight up and get ready on the elevator and aileron. You do want to watch the rotational torque to the left, especially if you're launching it for full throttle, which you shouldn't do, but if you do, you've got to be ready to catch it on the ailerons by giving it a little bit of right. Now when I was trimming this on its first flight, because this is only its second flight now, you don't need to worry about going up and getting up in the air at full throttle. You can launch happily at half throttle, get it trimmed, and then start exploring the speed range once it's trimmed. Anyway, let's get on with the flight review of the EFXTRA and cut to a little bit of the EFX Racer. Okay, so here's my launch. The wind is about there. Everything's good. I'm on low rates as I go. and let's see if the camera can keep up.
I'll surely try.
All right, we've got the bright one, so it should be fine. Okay, ready? So
Ready?
I'm using my chin to advance the throttle. Just about half throttle. Hold it on the elevator. That's a third throttle there. Climbing away nicely. Let me get the camera, get its bearings. How's that looking now?
I got it.
Yeah. Well, let's go into a fast pass right away and see how the camera handles. This is full throttle. No chance?
Quick. I got something.
You got something? Okay, all right. Well, obviously you're not flying it for a camera when you're flying it, and I can say that it does groove very, very well. I think that's part of the charm and the appeal of the EFX Racer and the EFXTRA. They just are rock solid flyers. Slow it down a bit, because the other thing about these models is that you can slow them down really, really nicely. I have a very benign stall, which we'll get into in a minute, but look at this, I'm flying very, very tight, just giving a little bit of throttle. Keep those the air flying over the control surfaces. Colour really pops. How are we doing on camera?
Quite well.
All right, so I'm going to bring it in and do another full speed pass. That's what the EFX and the EFXTRAs were all about. Okay, full throttle. And then look at the climb. Look at that. Unlimited vertical. I'm going to stall turn off that. How are we doing on camera?
I think I got it.
Okay, full rate roll. Pulls out lovely, look at that. It's got a nice whooshing sound, if you can hear that. You think we're getting it on camera? You think we're doing okay?
It's not too bad.
Sorry to keep mentioning the camera, but it does worry me. That's the thing when you come to fly for video, half the time you're thinking about flying and half the time you're thinking about the camera. And as I've got to edit this, I'm really thinking about the camera. All right, I'm going to try a knife edge now, because it does knife edge well, okay? Going to throw it over. There's the knife edge. Did you grab that?
Yeah, nice.
Okay. It does knife
Doesn't
edge
look too hard, does it?
very, very well. No, not much in the way of coupling. Now, I want to get back to the differences. So it's the clip ring primarily between this, the EFXTRA, and the EFX. Now, again, that they share the same motor, prop, and speed controller combo. Okay, high rate on the aileron now, and that's the roll rate. Now, keep in mind that on my radio, I've got exactly the same settings. So what you should be seeing now is that me repeating that same maneuver in the same position with the EFX Racer, the yellow one. And you'll see that it's just a little bit slower in roll rate, even with the same settings. So that should be all good in the edit now. So now we'll cut back to the EFXTRA, which is this green one. We'll show the vertical again if you're ready to pull up. This is full throttle climb out. Is there a little speck in the sky?
Nice. Oh, I got it quite nice.
Yeah, we'll do a little stall turn off the end there. Lovely. We'll do a flick it to higher rates. Do like a spiral dive. Pulls out lovely. It's very, very locked in. Coming towards us now, hopefully you can grab it on camera. How's that?
Got it.
Alright, look at that colour popping, love it. And then the other little story I want to tell you about the EFX and EFXTRA is the name. Because it's one of those moments that I had many years ago. I was in the shower in our apartment in Hong Kong and I needed to think of a name. And I wanted something that popped. And EFX just came into my mind. It doesn't actually mean anything. I remember thinking, could I justify the name somehow? And I was thinking, well, maybe you could call it Electric Flying Extreme or something like that.
I just thought it was extra fast.
Oh, extra fast, there you go, could even be that. The point is it can be whatever you want it to be, much like the model itself. It can be a nice, slow, gentle glider type, or even a sloper, or even an FPV racer with the EFXTRA and that FPV pod that you get with it. Or it can be an all-out speed racer, as it can be when you apply full throttle and you have a new 4S pack, not like this old 4S. But even on the old 4S, it really, really climbs. I'm going to do a fast pass, straight past camera, full throttle, downwind. Yay! It's cooking. I love that. Love that.
I might have gotten that one.
You might have got that one. Okay. We'll try another one into wind, and we'll do like a pop. I think you call it. Off here. Ready? Gonna pop up. There we go. Whee! And it just falls out of it. Lovely. How was that? Did we grab that? Do you think?
Yeah.
Flight times are a little short. I'm just going to show you the glide. That's the other thing. You'll see, what you should see, that they're similar, but the EFXTRA just doesn't glide quite as much as the EFX Racer. So I'm going to bring it to land now. Flaring, very rock solid, flaring. Oop, got a bit of debris there. And there we go. So I've got around 3.5–4 minutes. Let's go this way. But on the older 1800, you can fit easily in there a 22 or a 2400 for us. Let's go over to the model. You will see one of the things you have to contend with belly landers is a little bit of grass, but that's okay. So you can expect on a new pack, especially bigger capacity, to get in excess of 5 minutes, and you'll definitely hit that 100-mile-an-hour mark out the box with a brand new pack. What you would have seen then is the comparison in roll rate, and really, other than the visual difference, that is the only difference between the EFXTRA and the EFX Racer. Now these are in stock, or they should be in stock now, in both the Hong Kong international warehouse and the US warehouse. So if you're looking for a good sports model or a fast, fun racer for the summer, we are getting into summer here in the Northern Hemisphere, you can't go wrong with the EFXTRA or the EFX Racer. Both plug and fly, out of the box and flying in just a few hours work, if that even, because the tailplane clicks on, bolt the wing on, put your battery in, put the propeller on, and away you go. So there's not much else really to say on these. Classic birds, very, very popular, very strong. You can see that there's lots of, you can see past the grass, lots of reinforcement throughout the airframe, and they fly very, very well. So do yourself a favor, get a load of them in the club and have yourself some races this summer. And it's really just down to personal preference. Do you like the fluoro green or the bright red with the EFXTRA and the clipped wings, which I personally do, and the sporty look, or do you prefer the more classic and a little more elegant in terms of gliding EFX Racer with the yellow, and I think also orange as well. Anyway, they're all in stock. Check them out now. There'll be links underneath this video to the model. And I'm going to go inside, clean this off, put another pack in, and away we go. Thanks very much for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. And if this weather keeps improving, and now that we have access to the site, and if we've got the models in stock that I can show you, we're going to be bringing you some more content here from the field and here for hobbyking.com and our channel. Thanks very much for watching, and goodbye. Okay, so we're rolling in bonus footage time. If you've made it this far, you are going to see a mishmash of parts, and what this proves, A, that they are indeed the same airframe, but B, if you are flying an EFXTRA and you break a wing, but we only have EFX Racer wings in stock, actually doesn't matter. They're completely compatible, same with the tail, same with all the components. It just looks a little weird, but it flies pretty much exactly the same. And I'll prove that to you right now. You ready? Oh, and at the same time, in this bonus footage, I'll show you the stall, because we didn't show that in the main one. I forgot. Ready? Launching.
Ready?
Now I hesitated there for a minute just because I didn't check my ailerons are in the right direction. Now I have, and as you can see, it's just like it was before. Maybe just leaves a little bit of trim. I'm going to trim that now. Yep. For some reason the EFXTRA needed a little more trim than the EFX Racer. But there it is. Oh, look at those colours. Oh, lovely. Still love that fluoro. Okay, so now I'm going to get it into wind, and we'll end this bonus section just by showing you the stall, which I completely forgot to do in the main part of the video. Apologies there. Alright, here we are, into wind. I'm on mid-rates on the elevator. How's that looking on camera?
Got it?
Okay, and you'll see it will just gently drop to the side, to the right. Here we go, 3, 2, 1. It's at a standstill. That's full up elevator. I'm holding full up. It's like a free flight model now. I'm still holding full up, and that's all it's doing. Then you just let go of the stick, push the nose down a bit. I haven't even applied power because it glides so well, especially on the EFX Racer wing. And that's it. That is the bonus footage. I'll close out with a nice fast pass because we all love those. And I'll see you guys next time.